Have you ever paused to wonder why, even in the most prosperous era in human history, so many around us seem more restless, anxious, or disillusioned than ever? Why, in a time when information is at our fingertips, connections span the globe, and opportunities abound in ways our ancestors could never imagine, there is still a gnawing emptiness, a silent sense that something fundamental is missing? Perhaps you feel it yourself. The quiet unease that surfaces when screens go dark, notifications stop, and you confront the question, am I truly living or merely drifting on autopilot? You are not alone. What you are feeling may be the first signal of a far-reaching shift approaching. Imagine the life of a medieval peasant. He rose with the sun, labored the same land as his father and grandfather, knew precisely who he was, what he believed, whom to marry, when to plant, and when to harvest. Life was harsh. Scarcity, disease, and early death were inevitable. But he possessed something that we, despite our wealth and technology, have almost entirely lost: absolute certainty. Certainty about his identity, his purpose, and his place in the world. Every action had meaning. Every season brought rituals he understood. Every relationship was embedded in a stable social network that had been tested for generations. He may have died young, but he knew exactly why he was alive. Now, contrast this with the modern young adult in 2024. He has access to more information than any emperor in history. He can connect instantly with people on every continent. Career paths exist today that didn't exist a decade ago. Yet every day he must construct his identity anew. He must choose among thousands of digital voices, navigate careers that may vanish before he graduates, negotiate relationships in a world where love is constantly redefined. He may live to 90, but much of that life is spent wondering what ultimately it all means. This is the profound transformation of our time, and it is sowing the seeds of an unprecedented crisis. While policymakers prepare for financial collapses, recessions, and trade wars, the real storm cannot be measured in GDP or stock indices. It will be measured in rates of depression, anxiety, suicide, a collective existential suffering we are only beginning to recognize. For centuries, societies were organized around grand narratives that gave meaning to suffering and progress alike. Religion promised compensation in eternity for earthly hardship. Nationalism framed personal sacrifices as service to the homeland. Socialism offered hope that present struggles built a better future. Capitalism assured us that hard work and material success would yield happiness. But what happens when these narratives crumble simultaneously? Religion loses its authority in urban centers. Nationalism reveals itself as a constructed manipulation. Utopian promises of socialism fail. Capitalism increasingly delivers anxiety instead of fulfillment. What remains is a generation, highly educated, materially comfortable, digitally connected, adrift, uncertain what to do with their lives. This is not a crisis that can be fixed with economic policy, technology, or institutional reforms. Its roots lie deeper, a crisis of meaning, and it is growing each year. Signs are already clear: rising depression among the young, soaring anxiety in prosperous nations, and alarming rates of suicide in communities with every material advantage. And this is only the beginning. Technology, once our liberator, is accelerating this crisis. Every personalized algorithm isolates us further in our private realities. Every screen-mediated interaction diminishes our ability to form genuine human bonds. Every notification fragments our attention, eroding the inner space once used for reflection and self-knowledge. We are crafting tools too potent for our emotional maturity. Consider the paradox. We have apps to connect us with anyone on Earth, yet loneliness peaks. We carry humanity's library in our pockets, yet our focus dwindles. We have medications for depression, yet the existential causes multiply faster than our treatments. The true danger of the approaching crisis cannot be solved with technology or efficiency. When economies collapse, we know the remedies. When wars threaten, armies mobilize, alliances form, treaties are signed. But what do we do when millions lose the capacity to find meaning in their lives? The answer lies not in faster solutions, but in slower living, in reclaiming human connection beyond digital mediation, in creating rituals and traditions that anchor us emotionally, and, perhaps most crucially, in accepting that one need not have all the answers to live a meaningful life. The certainty of the medieval peasant was largely illusory, built on myths unsustainable in the modern world. Our doubts, though unsettling, are closer to the truth of human existence. This crisis may also be opportunity disguised, a chance to forge lives more honest about human limitations, more compassionate toward suffering, and more creative in discovering meaning beyond absolute certainties or promises of eternal happiness. Pause and ask yourself, do you feel this silent, restless search for purpose? Despite abundant opportunities, do you sense that something essential is missing? You are not alone. Your reflections may illuminate paths for others, collectively mapping the contours of this new crisis before it overwhelms us. Looking to 2026, the symptoms will not manifest neatly. They may appear as protests, without clear demands, populist movements promising simple answers to complex problems, or entirely new artistic expressions of generational anxiety. Yet, for the first time, we can anticipate this crisis. We can cultivate resilience, nurture support networks, and experiment with new social structures that place emotional well-being at the center. This is not a failure of humanity, but its triumph. We have solved survival challenges for vast numbers. Now we are free to confront the deeper question, what does it mean to be human? How do we find purpose amid abundance? How do we integrate our technological capacity with emotional and spiritual wisdom? The crisis ahead, the great emotional acceleration, demands psychological evolution at unprecedented speed. Where our ancestors had decades to adapt to change, we face fundamental transformations every few years. Work, relationships, identity, our nervous systems evolve for immediate threats, and small communities are overwhelmed by relentless stimuli. Consider a 20-year-old today choosing a career. He is betting on skills that will remain valuable in an automated economy, anticipating industries that may not exist, and navigating professions that could vanish within years. Every choice, career, relationship, personal identity, is fraught with existential pressure. Freedom is vast, yet responsibility is infinite, often without community support. Life becomes a perpetual self-development project, a constant recalibration under impossible expectations. Burnout is no longer a metaphor for overwork, it is existential fatigue. Digital technology reshapes not just action, but perception. Attention, presence, and the very experience of time are under siege. Moments of stillness become unbearable. The present, the only place where life truly happens, slips away, leaving anxiety, distraction, and a growing sense of emptiness. At the societal level, traditional support systems collapse. Families, religious communities, and local networks that once guided people through crises are replaced by fleeting digital interactions. One can be endlessly connected, yet profoundly alone, surrounded by curated lives that exacerbate comparative depression. The persistent feeling that others live more meaningful, successful, and vibrant lives. Multiply this across entire societies. Educational, political, and healthcare systems struggle to keep pace with realities they were never designed to address. And in 2026, the tension may reach a tipping point, a generation entering adulthood, assuming leadership, and perceiving society as fundamentally misaligned. Unlike past crises, this one cannot be resolved with policy alone. It demands a transformation in our collective understanding of what it means to live well. The good news, Solutions are emerging. Global mental wellness movements expand the vocabulary of psychological health. Communities experiment with genuine connection. Forward-thinking companies recognize that emotional well-being is integral to productivity. A new generation of thinkers, artists, and innovators is cultivating emotional intelligence alongside technological prowess, shaping art, technology, and social systems that honor human depth. The 2026 crisis may force humanity to confront long-avoided questions. How do we want to live? What constitutes a well-lived life in abundance? How can our technological capacities serve human flourishing rather than mere efficiency? These questions cannot be answered by experts or governments alone. They require an honest collective dialogue about values, priorities, and the future we seek to create. Do you feel this tension in your own life? The friction between the boundless possibilities technology offers and the growing difficulty of finding meaning? If so, your perspective is vital. Share it. Engage. Contribute. What makes this crisis unique is that it demands accelerated psychological evolution. We cannot wait generations to adapt. We must cultivate new capacities, emotional, cognitive, and social, while navigating profound transformation. It is both daunting and exhilarating. The emotional crisis approaching is not a sign of collapse, but of human emergence into a phase of civilization capable of integrating technological brilliance with emotional wisdom. We are standing at a threshold. The choice is ours: to drift on autopilot or to consciously craft lives and societies that nourish the mind, heart, and soul. The 2026 crisis is coming, but for the first time in history, we can face it awake, prepared, and united by a deeper understanding of what it truly means to be human in an era of extraordinary transformation.